Welcome to the Game Week 15 video. So this week kicks off with Stoke and Man City, and Stoke have had a bit of a mixed season so far. Last week they lost against Sunderland at home, and it would be fair to say that Stoke didn't really turn up to the game. However, Sunderland seemed to be rejuvenated under Sam Allardyce. But Stoke have got some very good results this season. Particularly, you look at the recent Chelsea win at home. That's why I think this is a tough place for Man City to come to. Um, City obviously have their injuries with Aguero and Yaya Toure and with Company, so that's a spine. And end of the day, those are big injuries. But City have recruited well, and with Silva coming back, I think City do have, you could say, the ammunition to go to Stoke and totally outplay them. It's the defensive side that I'm worried about when it comes to Man City. So should be a tough game. In terms of any single players I'd recommend, look, Stoke have been doing quite well, especially in the Carling Cup recently. And if there's any players from Stoke I'll look at is maybe Johnson, who I think does get involved in the attacking part of Stoke. There is Afala who seems to come back and seems to really be part of a lot of the good stuff that Stoke do offensively. City, yeah, of course. The City's fixtures after the Arsenal game actually look good. So whereas the ones immediately are not the best. So you could essentially start stockpiling Man City players now. De Bruyne is a player to look at. I think with City and everything, I think most players are very expensive. And right now, with Aguero's to come back, and no one's quite sure if Aguero he could get injured again. It's a risky transfer to do straight away. So there's not someone I'll particularly look at, but I think De Bruyne and Silva for sure at 9.9. If you're looking to get, I think right now De Bruyne is a better player to get than Silva. But if you were looking to get two City midfielders, you will look at either Sterling, Silva, and De Bruyne. In regards to the 3 o'clock games, so we have Arsenal and Sunderland, and like I said, Sunderland 2 wins in a row. They look really good, and let's not kill ourselves. They kept 2 clean sheets in the process as well. So this might be a case of whether if Arsenal can break down Sunderland, and I'm sure everyone's aware of Arsenal's current injury predicament, and they got more injuries in November than they did get points. So that says enough in regards to how bad of a month it was for Arsenal. But the fact there's only 2 points off the top, and with January looming, I think if the injuries stay around the same kind of magnitude, I think it's very important that Wenger actually does do some business in January. Arsenal come back from a 1-1 draw against Norwich, and based on the second half and near the end, yeah, Norwich had some very good chances, you could argue, to win the game, and Arsenal never really looked like they were going to win the game second half onwards. But Arsenal had sufficient chances in the first half. I think they did get jaded as well you know, from all the previous fixtures. So, end of the day, a draw at Norwich, that could have easily been a defeat taken the positive. And like I said, Sunderland have been doing really well. But yeah, I do think Arsenal win this game. In terms of particular players I'll look at, Koscielny looks like he's back. There are people coming back like Chamberlain and potentially Walcott in a few weeks' time. Walcott might be even on the bench, but maybe Ramsey, valued near about the £8 million mark. With Cazorla now gone, because of his knee injury, looks like Ramsey might play in the middle. And everyone knows in fantasy, 2 years ago, who was playing the game, how well he did. So there is that potential that Ramsey might just, benefit from a few of the injuries and he can play his preferred role. In terms of Man United West Ham now, Man United don't have Rooney for this game, and I saw them against Leicester. They actually, the funny thing with Luis Van Gaal's team is, I think they're very boring to watch, but you won't be surprised if Man United score all of a sudden, and that's exactly what they did. They scored an effective set piece, and I think Leicester really got caught out if anything. But yeah, with the injuries they've got and everything, I still think West Ham really look shaky without Payet, and I think that's a really big mental blow. It seems like all the players have almost kind of, I wouldn't say given up. I don't think they're so sure if they can actually compete at the top. but at the same time they know they're safe from the bottom. So I think they're somewhat in the middle, lingering between what they really want to do this season, and I think it's really the manager's duty to kind of say, look, this is what we're aiming for, and you can revise the targets. Look at Leicester; they're flying at the top. It doesn't mean that they say, okay, you know what, this is well above our target, so we can take it easy. No, you give it week in, week out, and I think West Ham is a case of there's a mental side of it, and I also think with the injuries, it's a lack of quality as well, and it's catching up. But West Ham have got some great results this year away from home. So it should be a good game to watch. But I think if Van Gaal plays the players, maybe with Lingard back, obviously at 4.5, it's a good player to look at. Depay potentially. This could be a really good game for Manchester United to have at the moment, because I think West Ham are not the strongest. In terms of Southampton and Villa now, Villa, big game against Watford, they lost it, and it doesn't surprise me. Like I said, Remy Gould's tactics as a defensive coach is pretty bad. Southampton have had a pretty bad week as well. Lost to Man City and got humiliated by Liverpool in the Carling Cup. So I'm sure Southampton see this as a game to kind of get back on track this season. And to be honest, Villa at home is probably one of the best games you can get this season, just because of Villa's defence and how leaky it's been. So I just have to go with the facts that it does look like Southampton will win this game, and I have to go for a good number of goals for Southampton. I think Villa are really struggling defensively. They might catch Southampton with a few goals, but Villa's defence really needs a lot of work, and I'm not so sure the appointment was the correct one. With Swansea and Leicester now, Leicester are flying high, and Swansea are not doing so well. They lost against Liverpool quite marginally, but even then, never really tested Liverpool that much, in my opinion. So the way I see it is actually I'm going for a Leicester win. I think Leicester will run out, start the game with, high intensity, and I think it will just be good enough. But I think if Leicester don't score early on in this game, Swansea can come back. I mean, not necessarily come back. I think they will slowly get into the game, and then we could see home advantage and everything play, and Swansea might get a result. But I think if Leicester take the lead and start the games they have been doing this season, they'll win the game. In terms of particular players, I don't think there's much to mention. I think Eden Gomez is somewhat rotational, and those are the quality players that I would mention at the moment. In terms of Leicester, obviously Mahrez and Vardy, everyone should know about that by now, and that's that. In terms of Watford and Norwich, big win for Watford, and they're really doing well. After the main night defeat, it was important for them to get points against teams near to them, and this is another team. Norwich are near about them, and if Watford go win this, they really make a statement that I don't think we can start saying that Watford are going to be relegation contenders when they're playing very well against teams around them. Norwich obviously good draw against Arsenal, and I think they will look at it both ways. It's like a double-edged sword. It's there's a part of them, I'm sure, that thinks that should have won that game, but then at the same time you got to look at the facts. It's Arsenal, and it's a good point. I do think Watford will win this game. I think there seem to be attackingly things are really starting to gel with them when it comes to Igalo and Dini, and defensively Flores has got them pretty well set up. So I'm going to go for a Watford win here. In terms of the last 3 o'clock game, West Brom and Spurs 0-0 against Chelsea, and to be honest, I think Spurs maybe were the second best team overall in that game. I think Chelsea were better, and it's disappointing because last season we saw them really take the game to Chelsea, and this time they really didn't do that, in my opinion. And it's not about them. It's not about Chelsea stopping them. To a certain extent, that is true, because Mourinho definitely had more cohesion at the back. Probably one of the first games where I felt like Chelsea didn't look vulnerable, as if they were going to concede imminently. But I think there needs to be more about the Spurs team, and I think an issue with Spurs potentially this season is I don't think Pochettino knows his best 11, and that's a problem, because if you don't know your best 11, you don't get that consistency of players playing together on the pitch, and I think that could be a small problem for Spurs this season. West Brom are been collecting points, beat Arsenal, got a draw against West Ham. It's typical Tony Pulis, collecting points, and his team will do absolutely fine this season. Berino, and obviously everyone knows about his Spurs transfer, which didn't happen in the summer, and It wouldn't surprise me if he got some goals against Spurs. In terms of this game, it's going to be tactical. It could go either way. Wouldn't be surprised if Spurs run riot, to be honest, but I wouldn't be surprised if West Brom nick this game. So it can go both ways. And in terms of the last game tomorrow on Saturday, it's going to be Chelsea and Bournemouth. And Bournemouth, for me, have been really good. I think they're a really good footballing team. But I think um, this is a really big game for Chelsea because they've had a few draws and that's all fine. But I think now, I think they're 12 points off top four and really got to start. I think they've got a decent run of fixtures now, at least for them to get 4 consecutive wins, maybe. And this will be a true test if really they're gonna do well this season. I think they struggled in the next 4 games. I think it's ridiculous for any pundit to say they can finish in the top four. Costa, now everyone says he's going to come back to the first team. There's a chance, but I think Hazard did really well in strike. So that actually puts a kind of positive spin for Hazard. If people have taken a risk like I have to get Hazard, he might potentially play on strike tomorrow, and that might be a good thing for us. In terms of other players in Chelsea that I recommend, it's the same players, and there's something more to add to that. So, last week we saw Bournemouth, see the 3-3 against Everton, and for you guys who, for instance, took my Stanislas recommendation at 4.2, he did very well. I think he got 15 points or something. So, you know, um, yeah, I think he got 15 points. Don't remember exactly, but either way, I don't see Bournemouth doing much here against Chelsea because I do think Chelsea will be rejuvenated and really focus on getting this result. But expect some good football from Bournemouth, definitely for sure. Those are the Sunday games. Newcastle and Liverpool. Now Newcastle really got battered against Palace, and something about them defensively is not right. And against Liverpool are flying at the moment, especially away. So the fact is, unless Newcastle approach this game differently, Liverpool will score loads of goals. And in terms of players to look at for Liverpool, Coutinho looks like he'll be back soon. Might be even back for this week. But either way, Sturridge for sure. He looked really good. At one point the chance looked like he went away against Southampton, but he still did brilliant to create the chance to score a really good goal. In terms of other players, I think I've already mentioned Moreno. I think he got like 2 assists, in the game against Southampton. And yeah, I think Origi is still a bit of a risk, to be honest, because I don't think he'll be part of the first team that much, but he could slowly creep in. But I think Benteke, Sturridge, Firmino, those are the kind of players that for sure will be involved, along with maybe potentially Lallana, etc. So that's what I'll mention. So in terms of the Newcastle-Liverpool game, I really think in the first 20 minutes we'll find out where this game is heading towards. If it's the same Newcastle, which I suspect, to be honest, then I only see one winner, and I see Liverpool winning. But Liverpool, I think Klopp has been saying that the Crystal Palace defeat is really kind of haunting him. And you see, Liverpool can do something this season. I think they can do something. Seeing how they're playing now, I didn't picture them being in the top four, but if they continue doing what they're doing and look like they're constantly improving on the Klopp, they can finish in the top four. That's for sure. Yeah. So in terms of the last game, which is a Monday game, Everton and Palace, and Everton, obviously a lot of players doing very well in fantasy, like Barclays, Lukaku. They did quite well in the Carling Cup as well. Delafeu did really well, and Lukaku's got another goal. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, great win against Newcastle. Balas is a player already mentioned, who I think people should be looking at. Maybe even I should be looking at. Maybe I should be taking my own recommendations, especially when it comes to Everton players, because from the week when I recommended Barkley, I think he's got maybe 32 points across 2 weeks. So it's been really a good week. Good time to have Ross Barkley in your team. In terms of this game, it's going to be a very good game in my opinion, because Everton look like they're already in form, attackive. Same with Palace. I think they're really attackive. So this could be a really good game to watch for goals. In terms of who I favour, I think it's end of the day who's got the most stronger defence. And I think I'll probably go for a draw. I really can't call it. It can go either way. I think both defences have problems. Everton, I think there's potentially Baines coming back to replace Galloway potentially. And with Palace, Joe Ward is back in the team value at 4.4. they have Delaney and Dan and you know Suarez, and it's not been the best of back fours, to be honest. And so yeah, but one thing for sure, I do see goals in this game. So yeah, I think that's pretty much my summary and my analysis for this game week, and I've also discussed the results from the previous game week. So I've told which players I think you should look at and given my assessment of the fixtures coming up. So just before I go, if you haven't joined the Fantasy Football Fan League, there is a video before with the league code. Please do join that. I think it's been a pretty good league so far in terms of how many people have joined and how the competition is there is pretty good. So do join that, and good luck for this game week.